You are standing at the edge of your own life, looking at wealth, looking at abundance, looking at the very thing you claim to want and you cannot reach it. Not because the world denies you, not because you lack talent or intelligence or opportunity, but because you are in your own way. What blocks you is not the world, it is you. And if this hurts, it is because you are finally hearing the truth. Pay attention. I am not here to waste your time. I am here to show you the one mental block that keeps money, success, and abundance locked outside the fortress you built around yourself. A fortress you do not even know exists. A fortress made of shadows, projections, and the very parts of yourself you refuse to see. You have been running from the one thing that could set you free. Stop running from yourself, because the moment you turn around and face what you have been fleeing, everything changes. The dam breaks, the flow begins, and money, opportunity, clarity, they come not because you chase them harder, but because you finally remove the block that was always within you. This is not motivation. This is confrontation. This is awakening. And if you stay with me, you will see the invisible wall you built. You will dismantle it brick by brick, and you will walk through to the other side, where abundance is not a fantasy, but a natural consequence of who you become. Let us begin. The mental block you cannot see. There is a part of you that you do not know, a part that lives in darkness, beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. We call it the shadow. And this shadow is not some philosophical abstraction. It is real. It is alive. It is the repository of everything you rejected about yourself. Jung himself described the shadow as the thing a person has no wish to be. It is the cognitive blind spot of your psyche, an undercurrent of who you are that remains completely invisible to your conscious mind. And yet, it governs more of your life than you can imagine. Every time you said, "I am not greedy," you took your greed and pushed it down into the shadow. Every time you said, "I am not lazy," you buried your laziness there. Every time you convinced yourself you were disciplined, hardworking, selfless, or noble, you took the opposite and locked it away where you would not have to see it. But what exactly goes into this shadow? Let me be precise. The shadow consists chiefly of primitive human emotions and impulses: rage, envy, greed, selfishness, desire, and the striving for power. It contains aggressive impulses, taboo mental images, shameful experiences, immoral urges, irrational wishes, and unacceptable sexual desires. Everything you perceive as inferior, evil, or unacceptable about yourself becomes part of the shadow. Rather than confront what you do not like about yourself, your mind pretends it does not exist. This is not conscious deception. This is an automatic psychological mechanism. You distance yourself from these behaviors, emotions, and thoughts because you find them dangerous. And in doing so, you create a split, a division, a fragmentation of your wholeness. And that shadow, that invisible part of you, is the mental block that keeps money from flowing to you. The architecture of self-sabotage. Listen carefully. Jung taught that a man who is possessed by his shadow is always standing in his own light and falling into his own traps, living below his own level. This is not metaphor. This is description of actual psychological mechanism. When you are unconscious of your shadow, you act in a blind, instinctive way. The shadow overwhelms your actions, especially when your conscious mind is shocked, confused, or paralyzed by indecision. In these moments, the suppressed identity can overwrite or control your ego entirely. You sabotage yourself. You stand in your own light. You fall into traps of your own making. Why? Because you cannot have what you cannot accept in yourself. If you have rejected greed, which Jung identified as one of the primary shadow contents, you have rejected the desire for more, not healthy desire, not ambition, but the raw, unfiltered wanting that drives human beings to accumulate, to expand, to grow. If you have rejected selfishness, another core shadow element, you have rejected the ability to prioritize your own needs. You have made yourself into a martyr. You give and give and give, and then you wonder why you have nothing left, why money slips through your fingers, why you cannot hold on to what you earn. If you have rejected aggression, that primitive impulse Jung recognized as essential to the shadow, you have rejected the capacity to claim what is yours, to compete, to fight for your territory, to assert your worth in a world that will not simply hand you what you deserve. And if you have rejected the striving for power, that fundamental human drive, you have rejected the very engine that propels people toward financial success, because money is power. And if you cannot accept power in yourself, you cannot accept money. This is the mental block, not lack of knowledge, not lack of effort, but the unconscious rejection of the very thing you consciously claim to want. The layers of your block. Jung spoke of the shadow as having multiple layers, and you must understand this architecture if you are to dismantle it. The upper layers contain your personal experiences, the things made unconscious through simple forgetfulness, the shifting of attention, or active repression. These are the specific moments where you rejected parts of yourself. The time someone called you greedy and you vowed never to be that way. The time you were punished for wanting too much. The time you learned that good people do not desire wealth. The time you associated money with corruption, selfishness, or moral failure. Each of these moments created a layer. Each rejection added to the shadow. Each denial made you more incompatible with abundance. But beneath these personal layers lie the deeper archetypal layers. These are the collective human contents, the shadow that belongs not just to you, but to your culture, your society, your entire lineage. Jung described this as a psychic activity which goes on independently of the conscious mind and is not dependent even on the upper layers of the unconscious. This is the shadow of society itself, the collective values that have been neglected and repressed, the cultural conditioning that says money is evil, that wealth corrupts, that spiritual people must be poor, that wanting more is sinful. You did not consciously choose these beliefs. They were fed to you. They became part of your shadow structure. And now they operate autonomously, blocking abundance at a level deeper than your personal psychology. When the mind pretends reality does not exist, here is what happens when you repress the shadow. Your mind creates elaborate illusions to maintain the repression. You tell yourself you do not want wealth, you just want enough. You convince yourself you are content with less when truly you are afraid of more. You create stories about why money has not come to you: bad luck, wrong timing, unfair circumstances, when the real reason is internal, unconscious, invisible to your awareness. Jung warned that when awareness of shadow projection remains repressed, the projection-making factor then has a free hand and can realize its object, or bring about some other situation characteristic of its power. In simpler terms, when you do not see your shadow, it acts on its own. It creates situations that confirm your blocks. It attracts circumstances that keep you stuck. It has autonomous power over your life. This is why you keep repeating the same financial patterns, why you get close to breakthrough and then fall back, why opportunity comes and you cannot seize it. The shadow has a free hand, and it is using that hand to keep you exactly where you are. The final truth, Jung said, something that few want to hear, but everyone needs to understand. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You cannot affirm your way to wealth if you have not faced the shadow. You cannot visualize abundance into reality if you are unconsciously rejecting it. You cannot think positive thoughts while the negative contents of your psyche operate autonomously beneath your awareness. The path to abundance is not through the light, it is through the darkness. It is through making conscious what you have made unconscious, through seeing what you have refused to see, through accepting what you have rejected. This is the mental block. And this is why money cannot flow to you until you do the one thing you have been avoiding: turn around and face your shadow. Because abundance does not come to those who pretend to be pure. It comes to those who have integrated their darkness and become whole. How you give your power away, but the shadow does not disappear just because you ignore it. It finds another way to express itself. It projects outward onto the world. You see greed in the wealthy and you despise them. You see selfishness in successful people and you judge them. You see aggression in entrepreneurs and you recoil. And all the while, you are not seeing them. You are seeing yourself. The parts of yourself you rejected, the parts that live in your shadow. This is projection, and it is costing you everything. Because when you project your shadow onto others, you are not rejecting them. You are rejecting yourself. And as long as you reject these parts of yourself, you reject the very qualities that would allow money to flow to you. The world becomes a mirror, and every person you judge for their wealth, their ambition, their desire, they are showing you what you have buried in yourself. They are showing you the mental block. Pay attention. This is not theory. This is the architecture of your own failure. The agreement you never made. There is another layer, deeper, more hidden. In your unconscious, there is a contract, an agreement you made long ago, perhaps in childhood, perhaps in a moment of pain or shame, that says, if I am good, I will be loved. If I am selfless, I will be worthy. If I do not want too much, I will be safe. This contract lives beneath your awareness, but it governs everything. You work hard, but not for wealth. You work hard to prove you are good. You sacrifice, but not out of generosity. You sacrifice to prove you are selfless. You deny yourself, but not out of discipline. You deny yourself to prove you are not greedy. And all of this entire unconscious contract, is a prison, because as long as you need to be good, you cannot be whole. As long as you need to be selfless, you cannot claim what is yours. As long as you need to prove you are not greedy, you cannot want wealth without guilt. This is the mental block, this unconscious agreement that says you must choose between being worthy and being wealthy, between being loved and being abundant, between being good and being free. And it is a lie. Why you sabotage yourself. Now, listen closely, because this is where most people turn away. You sabotage yourself, not consciously, not deliberately, but unconsciously, systematically, inevitably. You get close to success and you pull back. You start making money and you spend it. You create an opportunity and you let it slip away. You take one step forward and two steps back. Why? Because success threatens the unconscious contract. Success threatens the identity you built. Success means you must confront the shadow, and the shadow terrifies you, so you resist. You create obstacles. You tell yourself stories. I'm not ready. It's not the right time. I need to learn more. I'm not lucky like them. These are not truths. These are defenses, mechanisms of resistance, the ego protecting itself from the very transformation that would set you free. And this resistance is the mental block, the invisible force that keeps you circling the same patterns, the same failures, the same near misses, never quite breaking through. If you do not see this resistance, you cannot overcome it. And if you cannot overcome it, you will spend your entire life wondering why success always seems just out of reach. The moment of reckoning. Now we arrive at the threshold, the point where you must choose. You can continue to live in the illusion. You can keep telling yourself that the world is against you, that luck favors others, that you just need one more strategy, one more idea, one more break, or you can face the truth. The truth is this: the mental block is not outside you. It is inside you. It is the shadow you refuse to see. It is the projection you keep casting onto others. It is the unconscious contract you keep honoring. It is the resistance you keep feeding. And until you face it, nothing changes. This is the moment of reckoning, the moment where you stop running and turn around. The moment where you look into the darkness and say, I see you, I know you, you are me. This is not comfortable, this is not easy. This is confrontation, this is shadow work, and it is the only way through. Meeting your greed. Let me be specific. Let us start with greed. You despise greed. You tell yourself you are not greedy. You pride yourself on being content, humble, satisfied with little. And all of this sounds noble. But underneath, there is greed. There is desire. There is the part of you that wants more, wants abundance, wants wealth, and you have locked it away. Now, I am not asking you to become greedy in the destructive sense. I am asking you to meet your greed, to acknowledge it, to see it without judgment. Close your eyes. Imagine the part of you that wants, that desires, that hungers for more. Do not push it away. Do not moralize it. Just see it. What does it look like? What does it say? What does it want? Listen to it. Not with fear, not with shame, but with curiosity. Because this part of you, the greedy part, is not evil. It is life force. It is desire. It is the energy that moves you toward growth, toward abundance, toward more life. And when you reject it, you reject the very energy that could bring wealth to you. So meet your greed, welcome it, integrate it, not to become consumed by it, but to reclaim the power you gave away when you rejected it. This is shadow work. This is the beginning of removing the mental block, meeting your selfishness. Now, let us go deeper. Let us meet your selfishness. You tell yourself you are generous. You give, you help, you sacrifice, and perhaps you do. But underneath, there is selfishness. There is the part of you that wants to prioritize yourself, to put your needs first, to claim your share, and you have rejected it. Because somewhere, somehow, you learned that selfishness is bad, that caring for yourself is wrong, that putting yourself first is immoral, and so you became a martyr. You gave and gave and gave, and you resented it. And the resentment grew, and the shadow grew, and you projected it onto everyone who dared to prioritize themselves. But selfishness is not evil. Selfishness is self-care. Selfishness is boundaries. Selfishness is the recognition that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And until you reclaim your selfishness, you will keep giving yourself away. You will keep undercharging. You will keep undervaluing yourself. You will keep letting others take what is yours. So meet your selfishness. Look at the part of you that says, I matter. My needs matter. I deserve to receive. Do not judge it. Do not fear it. Integrate it. Because when you reclaim your selfishness, you reclaim your worth. And when you reclaim your worth, money flows not because you chase it, but because you finally believe you deserve it. Meeting your aggression. And now, the shadow most fear. Aggression. You tell yourself you are peaceful, kind, gentle, non-confrontational, and perhaps you are, but underneath there is aggression, there is anger, there is the part of you that wants to fight, to compete, to conquer, and you have buried it, because you were taught that aggression is violence, that anger is destructive, that competing is unkind, and so you became passive. You let others take what is yours. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You withdrew when you wanted to advance. And your aggression did not disappear. It turned inward. It became self-attack. It became depression. It became the voice that says, you are not good enough. You will never succeed. You do not deserve more. This is the shadow of aggression, and it is destroying you from the inside. But aggression is not evil. Aggression is assertiveness. Aggression is the capacity to claim your territory, to set boundaries, to say no, to fight for what is yours. And until you reclaim your aggression, you will keep being stepped on. You will keep being overlooked. You will keep being outcompeted by those who are willing to fight. So meet your aggression. Look at the part of you that wants to compete, to win, to dominate your field. Do not moralize it. Do not suppress it. Channel it. Because when you reclaim your aggression, you reclaim your power. And when you reclaim your power, money flows, not because you are nice, but because you are strong. What is individuation? Now we must speak of individuation, the process of becoming whole. Individuation is not self-improvement. It is not becoming better. It is becoming complete. It is integrating all the parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious, the persona and the shadow. And this process is the key to removing the mental block, because the mental block exists only as long as you are divided, as long as you reject parts of yourself, as long as you project your shadow onto the world. But when you individuate, when you integrate, the division ends, the projection stops, the resistance dissolves, and money flows because you are no longer in conflict with yourself. The first stage, recognition. Individuation begins with recognition. You must see the shadow. You must acknowledge the parts of yourself you rejected. This is not analysis. This is not intellectual understanding. This is direct confrontation. You must look at your life and ask, who do I judge? What do I resent? What triggers me? Every judgment is a clue. Every resentment is a signpost. Every trigger is a mirror showing you the shadow. Write them down. The people you judge, the qualities you despise, the behaviors that anger you, and then ask, where is this in me? Where have I rejected this part of myself? This is uncomfortable. This is painful, because you will see that the very things you hate in others are the things you hate in yourself. But this is the beginning. This is recognition. And without recognition, there can be no integration. The second stage, acceptance. Once you see the shadow, you must accept it, not justify it, not act on it unconsciously, but accept that it exists, that it is part of you, that it is not evil but energy that has been repressed. This is where most people fail, because acceptance feels like surrender. It feels like becoming the thing you fear. But acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is honoring the truth of your wholeness. When you accept your greed, you do not become a monster. You become honest, you acknowledge your desire, and from that honesty, you can make conscious choices about how to direct that desire. When you accept your selfishness, you do not become cruel. You become self-aware. You acknowledge your needs, and from that awareness, you can set boundaries and care for yourself without guilt. When you accept your aggression, you do not become violent. You become powerful. You acknowledge your strength, and from that strength, you can assert yourself without apology. Acceptance is the second stage of individuation, and it is the stage where the mental block begins to crack. The third stage, integration. Finally, you must integrate the shadow. Integration means bringing the unconscious into consciousness. It means making the rejected parts of yourself available to your whole being. This is active work. This is not passive acceptance. This is deliberate engagement. You engage with your greed by allowing yourself to want, to desire, to pursue abundance without shame. You engage with your selfishness by prioritizing your needs, by charging what you are worth, by saying no when you need to. You engage with your aggression by competing, by asserting yourself, by fighting for your place in the world. And as you integrate these parts, something extraordinary happens. The energy that was locked in the shadow becomes available to you. The power you projected onto others returns to you. The resistance that kept you stuck dissolves, and money flows, not because you chased it harder, but because you removed the block. You became compatible with abundance. You aligned your conscious desires with your unconscious wholeness. This is individuation. This is the process. And this is how you fix the one mental block that has been keeping you from wealth. Exercise 1, the projection mirror. Here is your first practice. For the next 7 days, keep a journal. Every day, write down 3 people who triggered you, people who annoyed you, angered you, frustrated you. It does not matter if they are strangers, colleagues, family, or figures in the media. Write their names, and next to each name, write the quality that triggered you. He is arrogant. She is greedy. They are aggressive. And then this is the crucial part. Ask yourself, where is this quality in me? Where have I rejected this part of myself? Do not skip this step. Do not rationalize. Do not defend yourself. Just look, because every projection is a clue. Every trigger is showing you the shadow. And when you see it, when you own it, you reclaim the power you gave away. This is the projection mirror, and it will reveal the mental block. Exercise 2, the dialogue with the shadow. Now, go deeper. Choose one quality you have rejected, one part of the shadow you identified in the first exercise. Sit in a quiet place. Close your eyes and imagine this part of yourself as a figure standing before you. Give it a form, a face, a voice, and speak to it. Ask it, who are you? What do you want from me? What are you protecting me from? And then listen, not with your mind, but with your inner ear. Let the shadow speak. You may hear, I am your greed. I want you to desire more. I am protecting you from staying small. Or, I am your selfishness. I want you to value yourself. I am protecting you from being used. Or, I am your aggression. I want you to fight. I am protecting you from being defeated. Listen to the shadow. Do not judge it. Do not dismiss it. Engage with it. And then say, I see you. I accept you. You are part of me. This dialogue is active imagination. It is a technique for integrating the unconscious, and it is one of the most powerful tools for removing the mental block. Do this practice once a week. Choose a different shadow quality each time, and watch as the energy locked in the shadow begins to flow back to you. Exercise 3. The opposite action. Here is the third practice, and it is the most confronting. Choose one behavior that you avoid because it contradicts your identity. If you pride yourself on being humble, do something bold. Promote yourself. Announce your success. Claim your worth publicly. If you pride yourself on being selfless, do something selfish. Prioritize your needs over someone else's. Say no to a request. Spend money on yourself without justifying it. If you pride yourself on being peaceful, do something aggressive. Compete openly. Assert your opinion forcefully. Fight for what you want. This is the opposite action, and it is terrifying because it threatens the persona. It threatens the identity you built to feel safe, loved, worthy, but this is exactly why you must do it, because the persona is the mask. And as long as you wear the mask, the shadow remains hidden. And as long as the shadow remains hidden, the mental block remains intact. So, take the opposite action, not to become someone you are not, but to prove to yourself that you can hold both sides, that you are not just humble, but also bold, not just selfless, but also self-caring, not just peaceful, but also powerful. And when you can hold both sides, you become whole. And when you become whole, the mental block dissolves. The agreement you must revoke. Now, we return to the unconscious contract. The agreement that says you must choose between being worthy and being wealthy. This contract is not written, it is not conscious, but it is binding, and it has been governing your life. You learned it early, perhaps from parents who struggled with money and taught you that wanting more is greedy. Perhaps from religion that taught you that wealth is spiritual corruption. Perhaps from a culture that glorifies poverty as virtue, and you internalized it. You made it your truth, and you have been living by it ever since. But here is what you must understand. This contract is not real. It is not truth. It is conditioning, and you can revoke it. I will give you a practice. A psychological ritual for breaking the unconscious contract. Find a quiet place. Light a candle if it helps you create sacred space. This is symbolic, but symbols speak to the unconscious. Write down the contract. Make it explicit. For example, I agreed that if I am good, I will be loved. But if I want too much, I will be rejected. Or, I agreed that if I am selfless, I will be worthy. But if I prioritize myself, I will be selfish and bad. Write it clearly. Make the unconscious conscious. And then, speak this aloud. I see this agreement. I understand where it came from. But it is not truth. It is not mine. And I revoke it. Tear the paper. Burn it if you can do so safely. Let the physical act symbolize the psychological act. And then, write a new contract, a conscious agreement with yourself. I am worthy of wealth and love. I can want more and still be good. I can prioritize myself and still be generous. I can be whole. Read this aloud. Read it every day for 30 days. Because the unconscious does not respond to logic, it responds to repetition, ritual, symbol, and this practice speaks the language of the unconscious. You are not just thinking differently, you are rewriting the deepest agreements that govern your life, and when the contract is revoked, the mental block crumbles. But you must know this, when you revoke the contract, fear will rise, because the contract was a protection. It kept you safe, it kept you small, yes, but it also kept you from the terror of being rejected, abandoned, unloved. And now you are choosing to let go of that protection. You are choosing to be visible, powerful, wealthy, even if it means risking rejection. This fear is real. Honor it. Do not dismiss it, but do not let it stop you. Because on the other side of this fear is freedom. On the other side of this fear is abundance. On the other side of this fear is the life you were meant to live. Feel the fear and revoke the contract anyway. What happens when you integrate the shadow? Let me tell you what happens when you do this work, when you face the shadow, when you integrate the rejected parts, when you revoke the unconscious contract. This is not theory. This is documented psychological transformation that occurs when shadow aspects are brought into consciousness and integrated into the whole personality. First, the projections stop. You stop seeing greed in every wealthy person. You stop judging success. You stop resenting others for having what you want because you have reclaimed those parts in yourself. You no longer need to project them outward. Jung taught that the shadow gains power through rejection. The more we deny these aspects of ourselves, the more strongly they influence our behavior. But when integration occurs, the opposite happens. The projection-making mechanism collapses. The mirror you held up to the world shatters, and you see reality for the first time. And when the projections stop, you see reality clearly. You see opportunities you could not see before. You see paths that were always there but invisible to you. This is not metaphorical vision. This is literal perceptual change. When your consciousness is no longer fragmented by internal conflict, when you are no longer wasting psychological energy projecting disowned parts onto others, your awareness expands. You become attuned to opportunities that were always present but filtered out by your unconscious blocks. Consider this. A person who has rejected their desire for wealth might unconsciously sabotage their earning potential. They literally cannot see the opportunities in front of them because seeing them would threaten their unconscious identity as someone who doesn't want money. But once they integrate that desire, once they accept it as part of themselves, the veil lifts. The opportunities become visible. Second, the resistance dissolves. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop pulling back when success comes close. You stop creating obstacles because you are no longer in conflict with yourself. The unconscious is no longer fighting the conscious. You are aligned, whole. Jung described this as the removal of the dam from a river. Shadow integration eliminates the unconscious resistance that typically slows down or blocks our manifestation processes. When you clear away internal obstacles through deep shadow work, wealth naturally rushes into your life with tremendous force. This is why you have been circling the same patterns. Why you get close to breakthrough and then pull back. Why you create obstacles just as success approaches. It is not bad luck. It is not external circumstance. It is unconscious resistance, the shadow fighting against what the conscious mind wants. But when integration occurs, this resistance dissolves. Action becomes natural. You move toward wealth not with struggle, but with flow. And when the resistance dissolves, action becomes natural. You move toward wealth not with struggle, but with flow. The wealthy understand something most do not. Money, at its core, is energy. When we are fragmented, this energy encounters resistance. When we are whole shadows, and all money flows naturally toward us. This is not metaphysical speculation. This is practical psychological reality. Third, your energy returns. The energy that was locked in repressing the shadow. The energy that was spent maintaining the persona. The energy that was drained by internal conflict. All of it returns to you, and you have access to a power you forgot you had. Jung emphasized that each time we face and embrace a shadow aspect, we release more energy for creation and manifestation. The psychological energy that was previously spent on repression, on maintaining the false persona, on fighting internal conflicts, all of that energy becomes available. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth while others struggle. The former have typically done more internal integration work, whether consciously or unconsciously. They are not fighting themselves. They are not wasting energy on internal conflicts. All their power is directed outward, toward creation, toward abundance. As you integrate your shadow side and come to terms with your darker half, you become infinitely stronger, not because you gained something new, but because you reclaimed what was always yours. And fourth, and this is the most important, money begins to flow. Not because you chased it harder, not because you found a new strategy, but because you removed the block. You became compatible with abundance. You aligned your inner world with your outer desires. Jung suggested that integrating the shadow, including the hidden desire for and fear of abundance, leads to wholeness and unlocks trapped potential. When this integration is complete, unprocessed shadows no longer create financial glass ceilings. Integrated shadows break them, and money flows to those who are aligned, to those who are whole, to those who can receive without guilt, want without shame, claim without apology. This is not poetry, this is profit. This is the documented reality of what happens when shadow work is done correctly and completely. The mechanics of transformation. Let me be specific about the mechanics, because understanding the process makes it real. Shadow integration operates on three key elements: recognition, dialogue, and integration. Recognition requires you to identify your shadow aspects around money, the beliefs, fears, and desires you have repressed. These often show up as feelings of unworthiness, fear of success, guilt about wealth, or beliefs about scarcity. Dialogue means engaging with these shadow aspects directly, not suppressing them, but entering into conversation with them, discovering where they came from, what they are protecting you from, what they need from you. Integration is the crucial phase that transforms shadow aspects into allies for wealth creation. This is not about eliminating parts of yourself. It is about bringing them into consciousness, accepting them, and allowing them to contribute to your wholeness. Consider this documented case. A corporate executive who always played it safe with investments discovered through shadow work that his shadow contained wild risk-taking impulses he had learned to suppress. Through integration, he did not become reckless. Instead, he developed a balanced approach to risk that opened up lucrative opportunities he had previously been too afraid to consider. Or this one, a tech entrepreneur who struggled for years to scale her business beyond 6 figures, discovered through intensive shadow work a deep-seated belief that massive success would make her too visible and therefore vulnerable. This fear stemmed from childhood experiences of being criticized whenever she stood out. Once she mastered this shadow aspect by embracing her visibility and transforming her fear into excitement, her company valuation skyrocketed to 8 figures within 6 months. This is not coincidence. This is the predictable result of shadow integration. And here is what surprises most people. Once shadow mastery is achieved, the resulting financial transformation often occurs with breathtaking speed. Why? Because shadow integration creates a clear channel for wealth by aligning conscious desires with unconscious beliefs and patterns. When this alignment is achieved, money flows not just more abundantly, but also more effortlessly. You no longer need to force or struggle because you have removed the internal conflicts that previously created resistance to wealth. This is the transformation. This is what happens when the mental block dissolves. You do not just create wealth, you become wealth itself, naturally attracting and generating prosperity in all its forms. Financial success becomes not just a matter of strategy, but of self-integration. And self-integration, true psychological wholeness, is the result of shadow work. This is verifiable, this is documented, this is real. And this is what awaits you on the other side of the work. And now, your relationship with money changes. Before, money was a symbol, a projection. You saw in money everything you rejected in yourself: greed, selfishness, aggression, power, and so you pushed it away, unconsciously, systematically, inevitably. But now, money is neutral. It is energy. It is a tool. It is neither good nor bad. It is what you make of it, and you can receive it without guilt. You can want it without shame. You can pursue it without apology. Because you have integrated the shadow. You know that. Wanting money does not make you greedy. Prioritizing yourself does not make you selfish. Claiming your worth does not make you aggressive. You are whole, and from that wholeness, you can engage with money consciously, powerfully, freely. This is the new, this is not the end. Understand this. What I have shown you is not a technique. It is not a quick fix. It is a journey. The journey of individuation. The journey of becoming whole. And this journey does not end. It deepens. It expands. It continues for the rest of your life, because there is always more shadow to integrate, always more unconscious to make conscious, always more wholeness to claim. But now you know the path. You know how to see the mental block. You know how to face it. You know how to dissolve it. And every time you do this work, you become more whole, more powerful, more free. And abundance flows not as a reward, but as a natural consequence of who you are becoming. Let me give you a daily practice, a ritual for maintaining the integration. Every morning, before you begin your day, sit in silence for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what part of myself am I rejecting today? Listen to the answer. It may be subtle, it may be quiet, but it is there. I am rejecting my tiredness. I am pushing myself too hard. I am rejecting my desire. I am telling myself I should not want more. I am rejecting my fear. I am pretending to be brave when I am terrified. Whatever it is, acknowledge it, accept it, integrate it, and then ask, what does this part need from me today? And listen again. My tiredness needs rest. My desire needs permission to want. My fear needs to be felt, not hidden. And then honor that need. Take one small action that integrates the rejected part. Rest for 10 minutes. Write down what you want without censoring yourself. Speak your fear aloud to someone you trust. This daily practice keeps the shadow integrated. It prevents the mental block from reforming. It maintains the place's flow. And over time, it becomes second nature. You become a person who lives in wholeness, and abundance becomes your natural state. But I must warn you, the shadow will return, not because you failed, but because this is the nature of the psyche. The unconscious is always producing new material, new parts to integrate, new shadows to face. And in moments of stress, fear, uncertainty, the old patterns will resurface. The old contract will whisper. The old resistance will try to reassert itself. This is normal. This is expected. Do not despair when this happens. Do not think you have lost your progress. Simply return to the practice. Face the shadow again, integrate it again, revoke the contract again. Because individuation is not a destination. It is a process, a lifelong engagement with your own wholeness. And each time you face the shadow, you become stronger. Each time you integrate, you become more whole. Each time you revoke the contract, you become more free. This is the path. Walk it with courage. Walk it with honesty. Walk it with commitment. And watch as your life transforms. The choice is yours. We have come to the end, but also to the beginning. Because now you know. You know the mental block. You know the shadow. You know the projection. You know the unconscious contract. You know the resistance. And you know what to do. But knowing is not enough. You must act. You must choose. Listen carefully. Jung understood something that most people spend their entire lives refusing to see. Your current financial reality is not just a result of what you do, but of what you unconsciously believe you are allowed to have. You can consciously want wealth. You can affirm it. You can visualize it. You can work for it. But if your shadow believes that money will disconnect you from love, make you unsafe, or turn you into a bad person, it will quietly block your path. It will sabotage you from behind the curtain, not because it is evil, but because it is protective. The shadow holds the parts of you that got rejected, misunderstood, or shamed, and so it hides them away, not to harm you, but to keep you safe according to the rules you once learned. If you grew up in a home where being too much got you punished or ignored, your shadow hid your ambition. If money caused chaos in your family, your shadow decided it was safer to push wealth away than to risk conflict. If you learned that rich people are greedy or evil, your shadow made you incompatible with abundance because you cannot become what you secretly despise. And now you stand at the threshold of choice. You can close this and return to your old patterns. You can tell yourself you will do this work later. You can rationalize, defend, delay, and nothing will change. The mental block will remain. The money will stay away. The life you want will continue to elude you. While your conscious mind says, "I want abundance," your unconscious will keep quietly pulling the handbrake. That inner contradiction creates friction, self-sabotage, procrastination, and guilt when money finally comes in. And no amount of scripting, journaling, or affirmations can override these unconscious programs if they are not brought into awareness. Or you can begin, right now, today. You can face the shadow. You can own the projections. You can revoke the contract. You can integrate the rejected parts, and everything changes. Not overnight, not magically, but inevitably, because transformation does not happen at the level of logic. It happens at the level of identity, of integration. When you meet your shadow, when you really sit with it, something shifts. You stop fighting parts of yourself, and when that internal war ends, your energy softens. You become coherent, and coherence is magnetic. Wealth is an energetic match for wholeness, not perfection. When you deny your shadow in an attempt to vibrate higher, you do not become more magnetic. You become fragmented. But when you integrate the shadow, when the internal fragmentation ends, you begin to see money not as something to chase, but as something that mirrors your internal relationship with yourself. Money becomes a mirror of your wholeness and your partialness. And when you do the work of integration, when you become whole, money reflects that wholeness back to you. The unconscious agreements you must rewrite. Here is what you must understand. Buried in your unconscious are agreements you never consciously made, but which govern every financial decision, every opportunity you take or refuse, every dollar you earn or lose. These agreements sound like this: if I have more, others will have less. If I become wealthy, people will expect too much from me. If I succeed, I will be alone. If I receive too much, I will lose myself. If I make money, I will become greedy like them. If I accumulate wealth, I will be disconnected from what matters. These beliefs often live below the surface, hidden in the shadow. And they create what Jung would call a projection-making factor, an autonomous force that has consequences on your behavior, your decisions, your entire relationship with abundance. The shadow is not just blocking you, it is actively creating situations that confirm these beliefs. It has a free hand, and it is using that hand to keep you exactly where these unconscious agreements say you should be. But you can rewrite them, not through positive thinking alone, not through surface-level affirmations, but through the deep work of making the unconscious conscious, through dialogue with the shadow, through integration of the rejected parts, through revocation of the contracts that no longer serve you. What happens when you choose to begin? When you remove the mental block, abundance flows. Not because you deserve it, not because the universe rewards you, but because you are no longer blocking it. The transformation is not immediate, but it is inevitable, because healing happens at the level of identity. When you begin this work, something fundamental shifts inside you. You stop unconsciously pushing money away. You start creating the safety inside yourself to receive it fully, not just mentally, but emotionally, somatically, spiritually. Your shadow learns to trust, and that is when transformation begins. You stop standing in your own light. You stop falling into your own traps. You stop living below your own level, because you are no longer possessed by the shadow. You have integrated it. And integration means you have access to everything that was locked away: the power, the creativity, the drive, the unfiltered truth, even your magnetism. All of it was in the shadow. All of it returns when you do the work. The choice is yours, and only yours. No one can do this work for you. No guru, no teacher, no system, no strategy. This is your shadow. your projection, your unconscious contract, your resistance, and only you can face it. Only you can integrate it. Only you can choose wholeness over fragmentation. The world will not force you to change. Life will not drag you into consciousness. You can spend the rest of your days wondering why abundance eludes you, why success feels just out of reach, why money comes and goes but never stays. Or you can turn around right now and face what you have been running from. The choice is not between good and bad. It is between wholeness and division, between consciousness and unconsciousness, between living as a fragmented self that sabotages its own desires, or living as an integrated being that moves toward abundance naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. Jung warned, "A man who is possessed by his shadow is always standing in his own light." You have been standing in your own light long enough. Step aside, let the light through, let abundance flow, not by chasing it, but by removing the block that was always you. The work begins now, or it never begins at all. The choice is yours, and only yours. What blocks you is not the world, it is you. I will say this one more time. What blocks you is not the world, it is you. The world is not withholding abundance from you. You are withholding it from yourself. Through rejection, through projection, through unconscious contracts and shadow resistance. And the moment you see this, the moment you own this, the moment you take responsibility for this, you reclaim your power. Because if you are the block, you are also the key. You have the power to remove the block. You have the power to face the shadow. You have the power to integrate, to transform, to individuate. And when you use that power, when you do this work, you become unstoppable. Not because you are perfect, but because you are whole. Listen carefully. I will say this only once. You are not broken. You are divided. And division can be healed. You are not cursed. You are unconscious. And unconsciousness can be made conscious. You are not powerless. You are blocked. And blocks can be removed. This is the truth. This is the path. This is the work. And if you do this work, if you walk this path, if you face this truth, abundance will flow to you, not as magic, but as the natural consequence of wholeness. Money will come because you no longer reject the parts of yourself that attract it. Opportunity will come because you no longer project your power onto others. Success will come because you no longer sabotage yourself with unconscious resistance, and freedom will come because you revoke the contract that kept you imprisoned. This is the promise, not of ease, but of transformation. This is the call, not to comfort, but to courage. This is the moment, not someday, but now. So begin. Face the shadow, integrate the parts, revoke the contract, become whole, and watch as money flows in. Not because you chased it, but because you finally became compatible with it. Now go. The work awaits.